out miscellaneous expenditures of $11,025. We have an available appropriation amount of $1,897,753. You have requests before you today of $107,900. On the revenue report, didn't have really anything to point out there other than I did add the 2025 budget for comparison. We were pretty conservative with 2024 as far as what we projected. We're at about 110% of that. If we subtract out or disregard property tax right now because we won't receive those until December. So we're off on a few things, but we also had interest that held pretty steady throughout this year, so gained a little bit there. But anyway, you could see 2025 in comparison if you wanted to look ahead. As far as fund balances, we do have one negative fund that is tax sale fees, but this will be made whole in December when we do settlement. Wanted to point out Fund 4709. We did transfer money from general fund to the self-insurance rainy day, but then if you look at the self-insurance fund, that did dip below $6 million this month. And the last item is the payroll clearing fund. We have that increased in balance quite a bit. We did transition to a new payroll system in the month of October, and I wouldn't say that it was exactly seamless, but we're working through any issues, and we did have some liabilities at the end of October to still pay out. So that balance should go back down once those are taken care of. I had one item on minutes. When you get to your consent agenda, I passed out a highlighted revision that was requested. And then the last item that I had was that after the last meeting, I think it was the Friday after the last meeting, we received a judicial mandate to restore longevity for an employee. This employee had a gap in service, and the judge had asked the commissioners to make an exception back in the summer, and the exception was denied. So we did receive that. I only wanted to be transparent about it, and the impact to the budget is less than $3,000 for that longevity to be restored. They had enough budget this year to cover it, but next year we'll probably want to monitor and make sure that there is sufficient budget there. That's all I had.
Okay. Any questions for Jennifer? Hearing none, you've got the treasurer's report at your spot. Yadira is obviously in the middle of receiving tax payments today, so she will not be with us.
The interest for October was in the amount of $602,075.30. Average interest rate was 5.08. We did learn last week that the Fed rate went down another 0.25% as expected, so we should see that change next month. As far as distribution amongst the funds, the general fund receives almost 62% of the total interest for October. And as far as where we at with projections, at 93%.
Okay. Any questions concerning the treasurer's report? If not, do we have any public comment to come before us this morning concerning any of our agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on. We've got a transfer between series for the Tippecanoe County Solid Waste District. Do I have a motion for that?
I'm making a motion to approve the transfer for the Tippecanoe County Solid Waste Management District.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilman Murray, a second from Councilman Richard to approve the transfer between series for the Tippecanoe County Solid Waste District. Discussion.
This is to purchase some additional signage for the e-waste collection day that's done twice a year. We think we've got a great handle on a way to do that very efficiently, but additional signage is needed, so.
Okay. Any questions or further discussion from council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that is approved. Next, we have our consent agenda, which includes the minutes, as Jennifer made note of, from October 8th. Are there any items on the consent agenda that anyone would like removed for further discussion? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the consent agenda as written.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilman Basham, a second from Councilman Richard, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion from council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that is approved. Next, we have additional appropriation, first up from Superior Court 6.
I make a motion to approve appropriation from the general fund in the sum of $10,000.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Dolam, a second from Councilman Murray, to approve the additional appropriation for Superior Court 6 in the amount of $10,000 for professional services translator. Discussion.
So as you can see, there's a letter in here from Judge Morrissey explaining how the translation services is going. We usually get a grant from the state, but when that runs out, then they need to come to us for money, and we've had quite a few new languages and requirements, so.
Okay. Any discussion or questions from council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that is approved. Next, we have magistrate additional appropriation.
Okay. So I make a motion to approve appropriation from the general fund of the amount, which is different than in your notes, of $4,950.54.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Dolam, a second from Councilman Murray, to approve the additional fund appropriation for the magistrate in the amount of $4,955.
Round up.
Round up.
Yep.
Okay.
Discussion.
Good morning. I'm
Good morning.
Magistrate Wyatt. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have about both this request and the next one. This request is related to a payout for vacation and comp time for a longtime employee who retired at the end of October. Having this additional funding allows us to have the new court reporter start immediately, as opposed to waiting about 6 weeks or so before we could bring someone else in based on the timing of pay cycles.
Okay. Any questions or discussion from council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that is approved.
I have the next one as well.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve for the magistrate from the general fund for institutional care amount of $71,400.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Dolam, a second from Councilman Murray, to approve the institutional care additional appropriation in the amount of $71,400. Discussion.
This request is related to a juvenile arrestee. I included the actual invoice with my request, which I believe is in your packet. The facility that this one juvenile arrestee is in does not bill until the juvenile arrestee is removed from their facility. He's been there a significant period of time while waiting for co-defendant cases to resolve, and so we did receive the bill in October. I was anticipating receiving it in January, but we wanted to go ahead and get the request made in this year.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have a pretrial diversion for the prosecutor.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve appropriation for the user fee pre-trial diversion fund 2560 for $30,000.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Dolam, a second from Councilman Murray, to approve the user fee pretrial diversion fund 2560 appropriation in the amount of $30,000. Excuse me.
Good morning.
Pat.
This is to pay for a project that we've been involved with the Lafayette Police Department. In our community, over half the guns stolen are stolen from unlocked vehicles. Since August of 2023, we've recovered approximately 92 firearms. Of those, more than 60% are from juveniles. So this is a public service ad that will be going out. It's finished, except for placing it in the media. Basically, it's going to go out and try to educate the public to lock their vehicle. It's a simple thing. If a member of the public can do anything to make our community safer, it's lock the car, lock the truck, or take the gun out of the vehicle. So that's what this is for.
Okay. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Next, we have Incentive Fund 8895.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve appropriation for Title IV Deed Incentive Fund 8895 for the amount of $5,000.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Dolam, a second from Councilman Murray to approve the 4D Incentive Fund 8895 in the amount of $5,000. Discussion.
It's for supplies. It's our incentive fund that we received throughout the year, and then we spend it out.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Next, we have 4D Incentive Fund 8897.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the appropriation for Prosecutor 4D Incentive Fund 8897 for $1,000.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Dolam, a second from Councilman Murray to approve the 4D Incentive Fund 8897 appropriation in the amount of $1,000.
This is just to get us through the end of the year from our incentive fund.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Thank you. Next, we have TEMA Safety Fund 9124 grant appropriation.
I'll make a motion that we approve TEMA Member Safety Fund 9124 grant appropriation in the amount of $4,500.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Vernon, a second from Councilman Murray, to approve the TEMA Member Safety Fund 9124 grant appropriation in the amount of $4,500. Discussion.
Good morning.
Good morning.
TEMA was awarded a grant from Duke Energy, and they have purchased Stop the Bleed kits to put in all of their emergency management vehicles, and so that's where we'd like to spend the money.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have coroner additional appropriation.
I'll make a motion that we approve the general fund appropriation for salaries and wages / other wages in the amount of $20,000.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Vernon, a second from Councilman Murray, to approve the additional appropriation for salary and wages for the coroner in the amount of $20,000. Discussion.
Good morning. Unfortunately, we continue to increase reporting of our deaths in this county. Now we're up by 14% where we were from last year. I thought we were going to level off, but this is going to get us through our deputy pay through the end of the year.
Any questions or discussion from council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Surveyor Fund 1202.
Mr. President, I'd move that we fund 1202. Surveyor says he's short on some money, so hope we approve that.
I'll second that for the amount of $3,800.
Okay, thank you. I got a motion on the floor from Councilman Basham, a second from Councilman Richard, to approve this Surveyor's Corner Perpetuation Fund 1,202 in the amount of $3,800. Discussion.
I don't see Zach.
Pretty straightforward. Okay, any questions or discussion from council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Next, we have Highway Cume Bridge 1135 appropriation.
Mr. President, I move that we approve Fund 1135 for the local share of the Bridge 527.
I'll second that, and it'll be in the amount of $450,000.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilman Basham, a second from Councilman Richard, to approve the Cume Bridge Fund 1135 appropriation in the amount of $450,000. Discussion. Good morning.
Good morning. This is exactly what it says, Bridge 527, one of two projects, this and Morehouse, go to let this Thursday, be opening in, based upon the very latest estimates. Our last appropriation is falling short of our share, so that's what the additional money is for. Our share is now up to a little over 1.5 million.
Okay. Any questions or discussion from council?
Which bridge is this? Just,
Bridge 527.
where is it?
This is the one on Old Romney Road, north of the high school.
Okay, thank you.
What did I say? What did I say? Old 231.
231.
Old 231. Old Romney doesn't go by the high school.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of
Like-
going,
Down by the
Like,
trailer
wait a minute.
park.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
exactly. South of 350, north of the high school.
Okay, now that we all know.
I get my fingernails.
All right. Any further discussion?
I got stuck there. a while.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that is approved. Next, we have local road and street 1169 appropriation.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the local road and street fund 1169 in the amount of $300,000.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilman Richard, a second from Councilman Basham, to approve the local road and street 1169 appropriation in the amount of $300,000. Discussion.
This is to finish out our obligations for concrete subdivision street repairs, crack sealing on the main asphalt streets in various locations throughout the county. No problem.
Okay. Any questions or discussion from council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have recorder salary statement. You guys want to put a motion on the floor?
Mr. President, I would move that we approve the salary statement for the recorder and the request.
I second that, and it'll be in the amount of $42,026.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilman Basham, a second from Councilman Richard, to approve the salary statement for the recorder for data entry specialist, comment 2, in the amount of $42,026. Discussion.
So I'm clearly not Christy Martin. I'm Sue Evie, her chief deputy. We're just asking our part-time position to go to full-time just to growing need for the coverage in our office.
Okay, any questions or discussion from council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that is approved. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have Sherritt Lit Fund 1170.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Public Safety County Share Fund 1170 appropriation in the amount of $78,000.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Vernon, a second from Councilman Murray, to approve the Lit Public Safety Fund 1170 appropriation in the amount of $78,000. Discussion. No
Good
helicopter
morning.
this time?
This is like going back in time. This is money that we actually were supposed to get last year for vehicles to be set up. And what's happened is Move Over Outfitter, where we have them upfitted, if you've been past their business, that's a booming business, and now it's finally our turn to have our vehicles set up now that were there last year. So it's simply asking for that money back that we had before.
Okay. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that is approved.
Thank you.
Next, we have Fund 8160 appropriation.
I'll make a motion that we approve this CHIRP Fund 8160 grant appropriation in the amount of $40,000, salaries and wages overtime $17,212, for a total request $57,212.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Vernon, a second from Councilman Murray, to approve the Fund 8160 appropriation in the total amount of $57,212. Discussion.
So what this is, it's our stop arm violations, DUI project, aggressive driving, seatbelt, it's all that wrapped into one, so we can pay the salaries of those that are working those projects.
Okay. Any questions or discussion from council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Next, we have salary statement.
I'll
Merit
make a
deputy
motion.
part-time.
I'll make a motion that we approve the salary statement, merit deputy part-time, up to $60.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Vernon, a second from Councilman Murray to approve the salary statement for the merit deputy in the amount stated. Discussion.
So what came to my attention is that other counties are doing this, but right now, when our deputies are working overtime details at Purdue or anywhere else, it's $60 an hour. I talked to Lieutenant Couch. There's some other offices that have done the same thing. They moved the grants, so the money that you just approved to pay for salaries, the $60 an hour would come from that grant funding to pay. And basically what it is, it's an easier way to do math. Instead of trying, if a lieutenant's working seatbelt project, his pay is going to be different than a merit deputy or a sergeant or vice versa. It just gives them all on the same page, equal to what they're being paid if they're out at the fairgrounds working an event. It's just all the same.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Commissioners ARPA Fund 8950 appropriation.
I'll make a motion that we approve the ARPA Fund 8950 appropriation in the amount of $7,963,738.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilman Vernon, second from Councilman Murray to approve the ARPA Fund 8950 in the amount stated. Discussion.
Good morning again. As you likely recall, we put forth our ARPA spending plan, and as those projects are being done, we've appropriated the money. The ARPA funds have to be committed by the end of next month, at the end of the year. So this is appropriating the remainder of those funds so that they can get committed. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be expended by the end of the year. They just have to be committed by the end of the, obligated by the end of the year. Also, we will be doing some tweaking to the plan with some project funds for next month. So in other words, I'll be bringing a revised plan. We've had some projects that have come in less, so we'll be reallocating those monies so we can get those all allocated, but that will be at next month's meeting.
Okay. Any questions or discussion from council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any committee reports for us this morning? Unfinished business? New business? Commissioner FYI? None? Any public comment to come before us this morning? Next meeting is December 10th. If there's nothing else, I'll take the last motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.